And the cold inside.
Fortune!
So, what's the bad news? More orcs rampaging through the docks? Or have those infernal statues sent another soul flying to his death? This here's my family business. Yes, there's been a Roberts escorting stiffs into the next life since the foundation of Cyseal itself. They don't write epics about morticians, but I'm proud of my work nonetheless. Sad story, that. Though if I'm speaking plainly, the sentimental aspect of it all doesn't make much of an impression on an undertaker. Especially not these days, with so many laid low by the orcs and such like. I just concern myself with giving the remains a respectable exit from life. We set him to rest in the northern graveyard. Perhaps he can finally get a little peace. What about it? Didn't I just say we gave it a respectable send-off? Why are you giving me the third degree? Now, if you don't mind, I'm trying to run a business here.
The death man is near Squirrel. I'm certain he's hiding something.
You may be right. I suspect he has much more than mere skeletons hiding in his closets.
Oh, how nice it is of you. The very picture of youth, to break the monotony of an elder's day. Wild away on this hardwood bench. Pray, let me be forward with you, O sapling rose, O leaf of spring. For my weary mind is troubled, and would highly prize thy gentle-handed assistance, thy kind ministrations. I am but an aged elf that has seen the years parade in long succession. Gladly shall I tell you more. Will I regale thee, O whelp of men, with my tale? But not here, where the winds may steal my words. You would listen to my grievances, guide me towards untroubled realms. Oh, you are truly a wonder, oh budding flower of the morn. Yet that which I would tell you is of a rather private nature. So let us escape both the chill and the eye of public scrutiny. Hot spiced wine and a snug little room awaits us on the King Crab's first floor. Let us go there so that we can warm our bones.
May the seven keep you.
Looks like that dog is awfully agitated.
This dog we met, how true a creature he is. how loyal and unwavering in its affections. His master is dead, but not even this, not even nature's great betrayal of life, stops his warm-heartedness from beating. Animals, dog and deer, elk and eagle. We burden and butcher them, wretches that we are. These pillars of creation, we topple them, though their spirits are so very pure. They do not scheme, they do not deceive. Perfidy, that is the human condition. This kind, this trusty beast, he is man's best friend, though man does not deserve one.
Rest in peace, darling.
You are not of the same mind because you are human, all too human. And deep down you place trust in your fellows. But one day, a stab in the back will tell you I am right. I know. For I have lain on silken cushions in marble palaces, and I have lain on wet leaves in soggy forests. Vastly do I prefer the latter. Oh, the occasional thorn may pierce your skin, but at least you are aware the sting is not that of a poisoned needle hidden by aspiring rivals. In the animal kingdom only, one is free. Beware the wolf, yes, beware the bear. But their rules are honest. The kingdoms of man, they are built upon the blood of the ones not strong enough to lay claim to power. This dog, it is a creature worthy of your affection. The ones you see around you, the men and women of this world, they are not.
May the seven keep you. Peace be with you, traveller. May your lost loved ones rest in peace. I once lived a prosperous life with my husband and our happy little daughter, Loni. But when the undead plague broke out, my dear husband was among the first killed. Loni never recovered from the loss. And when a group of mercenaries, predators, more aptly called, came to town dangling the opportunity to annihilate those undead devils, Loni lapped up their rhetoric and joined without so much as a backward glance. She was killed less than a week after she joined. Here she lies, and here I stand, mourning the death of my last joy.
In memory of Loni, death lies on her like an untimely frost upon the sweetest flower of all the field. Here lies Jacques,
May the
the
seven
oldest
keep
man in
you.
Sicil. Get off my grave, ye jackanapes. Here lies Helen, killed by an enraged zombie. I'm sure we can talk this out. Here lies Nemris, master of philosophy. Here lies
May the
James,
seven
as usual,
keep you.
the filthy fibber. Here lies Kavanagh. Will they have Sicil pie in the afterlife? Here lies Jake. Please do not disturb.
Gregory is this? That's not Jake.
It's a rotting sheep's corpse. It seems someone snatched Jake's body.
Here lies Gregory, whose wife told him so. Here lies Judith, warrior princess. Here lies Neil, killed in the line of duty. I want to go home. Here lies Jared. Shall I come back as an enraged spirit or a lovable prankster ghost? Here lies Patrick. You can kill me, but you'll never kill the dancer inside me. Here lies Catherine. I know, I was great.
So, what's the bad news? More orcs rampaging through the docks? A sheep? That's a whole heap of nonsense. Don't bother me with such wild tales. I suppose you're right. At least if I tell you myself, you'll hear the proper account of things. I buried that blasted sheep, but I swear on my lucky left foot I had nothing to do with that body disappearing. 1 minute it was on my slab, you see. I left the room for just a moment to answer the bell in the front parlour, and when I returned, the body was simply gone. In its place was a sack containing more gold coins than I could even count. The message was clear. Silence is golden. My business has been declining right alongside the rest of our blighted city. And that sack of gold was worth more than I made during one of the good years. I needed cash, and someone needed my silence. I knew I had to bury something or risk being found out. So that night, I stole into the market and made off with Bertia's fattest sheep. It was a bloody waste to stick so much fine meat into the ground to rot, but it had to be done. The next day, the pallbearers retrieved Jake's coffin, sealed to hide the body's terrible wounds, none the wiser that within the casket lay nothing more venerable than a slaughtered beast. Now, you can imagine I've spent more than my share of restless nights wondering who could have wanted that cadaver and for what purpose. I'm not an inch closer to imagining the why, but I've got a few inklings as to the who. Near as I can reckon, there are only 4 people who could have been involved. Mayor Cecil, Captain Aureus, Theleron's apprentice Evelyn, and Esmeralda. Plenty of us shopkeepers entrust the mayor with the spare keys to our businesses, you know. And he's the only person in town with a second copy of the key to the mortuary. He could have used it to sidle in without a peep, if he were so inclined. Aureus himself paid me a visit the night the body was delivered. Came rapping at my door in the frosty morning before the sun had even started peeping, and told me to tell him, and only him, if I noticed anything strange or suspicious about the remains. Can't see why he'd bothered to go through all that trouble, unless he knew something the rest of us don't. I know it sounds strange suspecting the doctor's apprentice of something so ghoulish as this, but there's few in this city could manage to transport a corpse without raising eyebrows. It was she who delivered Jake's body from the inn to the mortuary, and there was something about her that night, some kind of excitement. Seemed she could barely contain her thoughts, that there was something thrilling about to happen. I can't quite settle it in my mind how a young medical professional would have such a strange reaction to an occasion such as that. And this may or may not have anything to do with the whole rigmarole. But her master, Dr. Theleron, bought an old shack of mine, one overtaken by undead, for an exorbitant price considering what he was getting. I never did figure what he wanted it for, but he sure seemed eager. I never saw a widow less distraught at the death of her husband, and I've seen hundreds pass through my parlour. It was she who rang my bell just before the body was snatched, lured me outside claiming she needed air, before discussing the funeral arrangements. Some accomplice could have sneaked in and grabbed the remains while I was comforting the oh-so-overcome Esmeralda. That gold's the only good thing to come out of this blasted affair, and I certainly plan on making some use of it. That old bag's as fat as a heifer. She won't miss that sheep for a moment, and she sure as hell won't starve over it.
Source hunters, eh? All right, proper, we're finally getting a hand. Things is chaos. If you've got a favourite sheep, best to fry her up now. That louse! Did he even bother grilling a single luscious chop? I bet he wasted every last morsel. Captain Aureus will have a thing or two to say about this.
This is intolerable. The momentum of time is slipping through our hands, and you fritter it away on conversations about decomposing mutton. Focus, Source Hunter, focus!
Watch the undead quiver in their moldy boots.
Sight seal, what you're made of. You there! Sit! Stay a while! Right in front. I'll excite you. I'll delight you. I'll beguile you. I'll besmile you. I'm Cedric the Sensational, and I'm playing to an empty audience. Don't pity me. No, sir. Just a few years ago, I was the all-singing, all-dancing, all-sensational darling of the town. People came from far and wide just to witness my amazing act. When Reginald came, he brought some fantastic prop with him. Now, have you seen it? A talking head! Now, I never expected a silly gimmick like that to be my main competition. It seems even my usually choosy audience has been taken in by that hack's little gizmo. I'm a man of skill, sleight of hand, feats of wit, and pure entertainment. This curio is ruining what used to be an art. And even when there's no crowd to speak of, old Reggie still has at least one fan calling bravo and hee-haw. Sure as the sun sets, that one devotee attracts 5 more, and those 5 more all curious about the commotion. I don't know how he inspires such loyalty with less talent contained between his hat and his boots than I've in my crusty handkerchief. Come on! Can't you hear the stage calling you? You there! You look like an actor just waiting for his big debut. And who are you supposed to be? Oh, I should have been one of the greats. But here I am gathering peasants to watch peasants perform broadside pageants for peanuts. No, really? I hadn't noticed. If not for this ridiculous condition, you'd know me as the king's favourite thespian.
Zombie ate your dog? Orc sunk your ship? No matter! You're at Katerina's Fair, a veritable summer home for troubled minds. Won't you take a seat and let our esteemed entertainers whisk you off to a better place? Well, I'm Katerina the Fair, fairest first lady of the fair, of course. I do love making the acquaintance of my patrons, and who knows which of them might become one of my performers. I've an open stage in want of talent, and I've often found the best young performers among the rank and file of the audience. The theatre's favour has overcome you, has it? Marvellous! I do so love a fresh green talent ready to bloom. But I support players, not writers, you see. If you want to perform here, you'll have to find tried and true material. Check the library and see if any of the classics there interest you. I'd love to see a Source Hunters take on one of the old standards.
Fantastic!
So ardently did he crave creamy blues and gory reds that he ordered a contest across his realm. Today, I think, a king. The great Sigurd and his rainbow of war machines.
My word!
It is said, and this I have heard from a ghost who knew Elba, who knew Elliot, who is said to have known Sigurd himself.
My word!
So ardently did he crave creamy blues and gory reds that he ordered a contest across his realm. Today, I think, a king. The great...
You there! Take a seat. Prepare to laugh your head off, cry your eyes out, and teeter on the edge of your seat with an original tale from Stefan, the talking severed head. I am Reginald the Illusionist, purveyor of the most amazing artifact in Andevale, this fantastical talking head. Catch the act while you can. This show will only remain in Sicil as long as there are Legion soldiers to entertain. Why do I care what tall tales you've heard about Stefan's origins? Try to do something about it if you dare. The fair's full of legionnaires who love no better entertainment than cutting down a source hunter for stirring up trouble. Ah, yes, I know of that talentless bull. He was here entertaining the troops before I was brought in. I'm sure the hack simply bored his audience to tears until they cried for a replacement. Enter Reginald the Illusionist. We need our boys in red happy, relaxed, and ready to fight. Not wasting their energies cringing at a fool with a depressed rabbit in a borrowed hat.
He's right, you know. We can hardly walk off with a talking head in the middle of a crowded fair.
We'll just have to think of something more clever.
Re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Oh, excuse me, I'm trying to prepare for the next show. Autographs will have to wait until the end. I doubt I have to tell you that I am the amazing singing Stefan, the only sentient severed head in Sicil. My audience sings my praises from hill and dale. Psst. You're a source hunter, aren't you? Oh, bless the seven. Look, you've got to help me. I've been kidnapped. Pleasure to meet you. Now, please, Stefan has many fans to meet today. Psst, help me. Take me to Reginald's cellar. There I will reveal everything. It won't be the worst indignation I've suffered. Get on with it, then.
That is enough of that now. Back for more, I see. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. What with Stefan rattling off legendary yarn after yarn. I think you've gotten quite familiar enough by now, thanks. Keep your paws in your pockets, if you please.
My word!
Today, I think...
This show is worth the hype. Though that bloke in the back seems to be having a bit too much fun, if you ask me.
From a ghost who knew Elba, who knew Elliot.
What are you looking at me for? There's a great show going on right in front of you. And look, there stands the world-famous Reginald the Entertainer. Better check it out if you don't want to miss the time of your life. Oh, I'm nothing but your average man taking in the best show I've ever seen. I'm amazed and astounded that for a meagre gold coin or two, I can take in this first-rate entertainment all day long. Well, I've stumbled into quite the fine gig. I just let my appreciation for Reggie's work be known, and he slips me a few gold coins in return. My voice happens to carry pretty far. Cecile hears me. Cecile wants to see what the fuss is all about. And let me tell you, this amazing show just can't be beat.
The great Sigurd and his rainbow...
Back for more, I see. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. What with Stefan? Are you impressed by my prowess in the arts of entertainment? Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. And that crowd warmer has increased my profits by 60%. Simply by showing a little honest appreciation for our show.
Ah! Today, I think,
You there? You look like an actor just waiting for his big debut. Ah, a familiar face. Come, watch the show. I promise it'll take your mind off beheading baddies, or whatever it is you do with all those muscles. I, a person whose sole job is to praise the performance and stir a crowd. A genius invention. No wonder Reginald has had such success. I knew his act couldn't have outshone mine on its merits alone. Please, you must hire him for me. Imagine the scowl on that conman's face when my rightful audience returns to me. A must-see event.
Bravo! Yeehaw!
I think, a king.
What are you looking at me for? There's a great show. Well, I don't see why I should. Reginald and I have grown rather friendly, you know? And in any case, it'll be hard to pull myself away from this fantastic show.
So ardently did he crave creamy blues and gory reds that he ordered a
My
contest
word!
across his realm. Today, I think, a king. The great Sigurd and his rainbow of war machines. It is said, and this I have heard from a ghost who knew Elba, who knew Elliot, who is said to have known...
Well, I guess it's been long enough since I've stretched my wings a bit, and it ain't so far of a flight now, is it? Maybe I will have a peek at what Cedric's up to over there.
Contest across his realm.
Fantastic.
Back for more, I see. Well, I knew that...
So ardently did he crave creamy blues and gory reds that he ordered a contest across his realm. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti... Oh, excuse me, I'm trying to prepare for the next... It won't be the... A little privacy at last. Out of earshot of that contemptible jester. We can finally speak freely. Where shall we begin? My true name is Nick. In life, I was an entertainer aboard the ship of the famed Pontius Pirate. I once dared to defy him and he savagely beheaded me for the attempt. Little did I know the abuse was only beginning. A wandering sorcerer, mad as the day is long, found my severed head on the beach and resurrected me. I spent months in his company listening to him blather on about his every inane opinion. When I asked him to return my head to my body, it must be in the Black Cove still, he became enraged and tossed my head into the sea. Reginald stumbled upon me some days later and consigned me into his horrid little show. I know not how long I've been entertaining slack-jawed imbeciles at the Sicil Fair. All I know is I just can't take it anymore. More than anything. But the chances are so slim with the Black Cove utterly infested with Pontius's undead cronies. My poor lost body is among them, sightless and silent in their vile company. For all I know, they're using it as a coat rack. Traveller, if there were any way you would brave the Cove's depths and reunite me with myself, you'd be doing me the only kindness I'd have received in as long as my poor memory serves. That charlatan doesn't have a lick of his own talent, so he begs, borrows and beats it from those of us with a real vision for the stage. What I wouldn't give to give old Reggie a swift kick in the jugglers. Oh, to have legs again. It won't be the worst indignation I've suffered. Get on with it then.
Looks like the mortician is rather suspicious about Jake.
What could Mayor Cecil, Captain Aureus, or Evelyn have to do with it?
Hello again. Terribly sorry, Source Hunter, but I seem to be fresh out of priceless relics for you to destroy. Is that so? Well, I handled the corpse myself, indeed, but I hardly knew the man in life. I was shocked when Ahu asked me to come to the crime scene, but Theliron had taken ill, and the responsibility fell to me. I arrived at the inn, where the body lay just where it had fallen. The injuries were like nothing I'd ever seen. A single intricate laceration wove like lace around every inch of his skin. Neither a beginning nor an ending point were discernible. I examined the corpse and recorded what information I could. I personally delivered the corpse the short distance to the mortician's house. As far as I know, everything was, as far as a magical murder is concerned, quite normal.
Ah, so that's what that did. Dagger. Could this have been involved in the crime?
It certainly piques one's interest, doesn't it?
The hunter returns! I hope you are here to shop rather than sleuth. So, what piece of irrefutable evidence are you about to present me with this time? Perhaps it is you who should explain your presence in my cellar. And the dagger? It's simply a butcher knife used by my late husband to cut meat. He did so love to cook, the dear. What'll you think of next? Accusing me of bashing him over the head with a frying pan? Oh, don't put stock in the hastily scribbled words of a lovelorn fool. This letter, it was a show of passion. A poorly worded passion I did not echo in the least. The Duke, he's like a spoiled child. He's not a man. He's not like Septimus. But all of it is circumstantial. I've a perfectly logical explanation for every piece of so-called evidence against me, and yet you've been trailing me like a bloodhound. People seem to want to believe I am guilty, so let me tell you something I've been keeping to myself. Perhaps it may yet lead to the true culprit. Over the last few months, Jake grew distant and dark somehow. Something in him changed. I can't quite put my finger on it, but he was no longer the gentleman he used to be. In fact, he scared me. It all began the day he met Evelyn, Master Theliron's apprentice. She healed him of what we all believe to be a fatal wound he suffered hunting boars. I think he became obsessed by her, or obsessed by the secrets I just know she holds. Talk to this woman. There is more to her than meets the eye. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if she belongs to that sect. You know, to those who worship a goddess without name and practice rituals of blood. I never liked her from the moment I met her. Men cannot see past her beauty, but I have gazed her in the eye and it was death that leered back at me. She hails from Silverglen, a village in the forest north of Sisio. How she made it past the undead without a Legion escort, I'll never know. Though I can hazard an eerie guess. If anyone killed my Jake, it must be her. She had her claws in him for many long months, and finally she must have cut too deeply.
To what do I owe the repeated pleasure, Source Hunter? Far be it from her to tell her master what in the seven's name she's up to. The girl flew from here like she just heard the location of the Philosopher's Stone. She even left her pouch unattended in the next room. Most unlike her, to be sure. I'd try her house, for starters. It's not far from here. I'll mark the location on your map. She usually keeps it within sight at all times. Very strange she'd leave it behind. It's in the next room if you'd like to take a look. Soothing a corpse's troubled mind. Can't have gotten far.
Halibut, sheep's cheese, tomatoes.
So, she's got a lair on the beach, does she?
Perhaps that's where she's stashed Jake's body.
Source Hunter. A sight for sore eyes, if ever there was one. I know you're probably knee-deep in that awful murder investigation, but truth be told, the Legion could use your help as well. We've been conducting a series of expeditions into undead territory, and I'm afraid I must admit they've met with very little success. Lieutenant Selenia, at your service. I'm Captain Aureus' second-in-command, but rest assured I am a lot more kindly inclined towards source hunters than he is. Now, I certainly don't mind a bit of healthy competition and even rivalry between our orders, but I, for one, have no intention of looking a gift horse in the mouth. And that is exactly what your presence in Sicil is, Source Hunter. A gift and a blessing. Only heroes such as yourself can make a true difference in this troubled part of the world. Such is my honest conviction. I shall be very glad to share what information I can give you. If ever we want to be victorious in Sicil, we have to track down the root of the undead uprising. Under the Pact of Volunteers, 3 expeditions were launched to do just that, but so far, none of their participants have returned. 3 landmarks were chosen for further investigation: the lighthouse, the burial mounds, and the old church. Places fraught with danger all. There's a lighthouse to the west, up on the bluffs, overlooking the sea. No man has gone there in a decade, and yet a light shines from its pinnacle every night. The locals say it's haunted, and half a dozen legionnaires have gone to find out whether or not those are mere tall tales. I fear for their safety. There are ancient burial grounds to be found north of the city. As good a place as any to start looking for necromancers, wouldn't you say? A local archaeologist offered to tag along with the men. Here's hoping his knowledge on the subject may prove to be of use to them. There's a church to the northeast of here, built atop the very place where once stood a temple dedicated to the Source. The Sicilians razed it, and built a church for the 7 instead, supposedly to symbolize the victory of the gods over evil sorcery. All superstitious mumbo-jumbo, if you ask me. But when the dead rose, that is when they were first spotted. Hence the expedition. So I did. The Pact of Volunteers. Many Legionnaires will do whatever it takes to go home, which is why I personally sign their transfer orders the moment they make it back from a mission behind enemy lines. The chances of survival during these sorties are only about 1 in 10, you see. So my soldiers are free to volunteer, and if they are successful, they just bought themselves a boat ride home. The undead. I pitied them at first. Many among them were once kind and innocent civilians of Sicil after all. No longer do I feel that way, though. Too many of my soldiers have fallen. The dead must be put down without mercy, if we can. The bravest among my men and women tell me they are weaker in the west and stronger in the east. So I suggest you head westward if you want to flex your muscles and test the waters before blindly diving to your death.
Mr. Head Honcho Legionnaire! The Source Hunter says that creep Robert stole my sheep.
And?
Well, aren't you going to arrest that stinking thief?
I'll have a talk with him, madam. Ah, the Source Hunter. Yes. Discovered anything? It was stolen? Gods, what a fool that Roberts is! Taking a bribe in beleaguered old Sicil. Ah, what was he going to do with that gold? Buy the largest kipper in the land? He has a lot to answer for, but not as much as the one that did the bribing in the first place. Guess your mission is pretty clear, isn't it? Off you go to find this munificent body snatcher. What is in her diary certainly seems to implicate she dabbles in sorcery. Well, you're supposed to be the Source Hunter, aren't you? Go hunt some sauce!